Hi, and welcome to my personal finance course. I'm Tom Mihawk. Welcome back. Um, this is an exciting chapter because this is the ninth chapter in the course, and but there are 19 total, and this chapter represents the last chapter that I'm recording of all 19. Now, most chapters have two segments. I don't remember now, but some may have three. I don't remember. I think most have two. But the point is, there's probably with it, hello and welcome chapters. There's probably, videos. There's probably 40. So I'm really excited that this is the last one, and there'll be more coming, um, video posts and things like that. But the point is I've finally managed to update all my slides and produce videos posted at YouTube that are available for everyone to watch, my students to watch in my courses, which is terrific. I'm excited about that. This chapter, the ninth I mentioned in my course, is called Housing Selection and Financing. By the way, you can find me at tommihawk.com, at Resume Optimization, at Twitter and Instagram, at my YouTube channel. Just search Tom Mihawk. And you've probably heard if you've listened to any of these previous chapters, I have a book out in ebook form, paperback, hopefully coming this coming week, called Optimize Your Resume. And interestingly, it's sold copies and it's shown up on a few of the lists. It made it as high, I think, as number 8 in job hunting resumes this week at Amazon, which is really exciting. It dropped back a little bit too when the sales go down, but that's exciting news. So anyway, welcome. Thanks for watching. Homes and apartments. Here are some interesting ones. In the upper left is a starter home in Houston, Texas. This is what you might consider if you were buying your first home. In the upper right, Uber founder buys record-breaking Los Angeles home, $72.5 million. Gorgeous pool, probably has a gym, who knows? I don't know how you can use all those rooms unless he has a family of, 25. Or she, could be a she. The center image, this is the exterior of the home where Chandler and Joey and Rachel and Monica lived in Friends. And in the lower left is the floor plan designed by the person whose name is shown on the image. Sorry, I'm an engineer. You can see that the floor plan doesn't match the exterior, but still it's neat. And so we're talking about home ownership versus renting and comparing both. How do I choose? When should I own? When should I rent? Well, we should look at your stage in life, your personal preferences and your situation, how you spend your time and money. All these affect your choices. Traditional financial recommendations are that you should only spend 25 to 30% of your take-home pay or have a home cost of 2.5 times your annual income. Now, this varies greatly. If you live in the New York City suburbs, northern New Jersey, Connecticut, Westchester County, or maybe even north of that. If you live in the San Francisco area, Palo Alto, Marin County, Los Angeles, North Shore of Chicago, near Miami, suburbs of Houston, Atlanta, it's going to be more expensive, and you may have to devote more of your income to mortgage service. I'm not saying that that's necessarily a good thing. This is why people want to live in less expensive areas, because it doesn't cost as much. But these are just some guidelines. Housing life stages. Young singles. Rental housing has, it's a great option for young singles. And then we look at other kinds of options, life stages, like young couple with no children, couples with young children, retired people. Rental housing can meet their financial, social, and physical needs. Couple with children no longer at home, and single parents. Each of these life stages have characteristics of what they do and what their needs are, and renting and buying can be beneficial or disadvantageous depending on your life stage and what your needs are. Let's take a look at some housing alternatives. Renting apartments or homes, some advantages, easy to move, and we're going to talk about this in more detail, so I'm just going to do this quickly. Easy to move, fewer responsibilities, some disadvantages, no tax benefits, right? If you rent a house, there's limitations regarding remodeling. If you want to paint your dining room, uh, cranberry, or your, bedroom blue, you may have to put it back to the color that it was when you moved in, which is likely cream or white, right? And the same is true when you rent. When you rent, you only can do so many modifications. Owning, when you rent an apartment, sorry, we were talking about renting, but I mean when you rent an apartment, same thing is true. Owning, new home, previously owned house, condominium, right? Pride of ownership is one great benefit. You could live in an established neighborhood. That can be good for your family, good for you and your spouse. And then there's also manufactured home and mobile homes, and we'll talk about those a little bit later. So there are a variety of alternatives, right? Let's compare renting and buying. Renting, it's much easier to move. Fewer responsibilities for maintenance. If the toilet clogs, if the roof leaks, if the furnace becomes inoperable, call the landlord. It doesn't mean the landlord's going to be there in an hour or in 10 minutes, but it is their responsibility, not yours. Minimal financial commitment. Pay your first month's rent as your security deposit, and then you pay your rent. And hopefully, if you take care of the property, do some work when you leave, you'll get all your security back. Some disadvantages: no tax benefits, limitations. No, you can't paint it your color. You have to leave it the color that it was when you moved in, right? And there are restrictions about pets and other activities. Buying, pride of ownership. There are lots of financial benefits. We'll talk about those more. Lifestyle flexibility. You want a pool? Put in a pool. You want a large bedroom? Put in a large bedroom. You want fireplaces? Put in fireplaces. Financial commitment is also the financial benefit. There's an opposite side of that coin, which is it's expensive, right? Higher living expenses. Something always seems to need repairing when you own a home. And there's limited mobility. Can you leave your home in a month? Sure. Could you sell it in 2 weeks or a month? Sure. At 50% of the value or 25% of the value or something like that, right? So, you need to, if you want to sell your home, it might take 6 months or a year to get the full value for your property. So renting, let's talk about the search. Select several options in your area, get an idea, look at the costs, look at these options that fit your needs and your circumstances. Do you want to live in a garden apartment or in a building? I mean, if it's New York City, or downtown Chicago, maybe you're in a building and that's your only choice. If you're in a suburban location, maybe you can find a place with a pool and spread out garden, apartments that are single floors or maybe low, maybe only 2 floors. If you're moving to a new location, you're taking a job out of undergrad or changing after graduate school or taking a new job, period, just changing jobs. Ask at work, ask your network. Ask your friends and acquaintances, where would they move? What neighborhoods would be accessible to the office or accessible to the city or where there are good schools for children? Compare your options, right? Size and layout of space, recreation, safety and access. As I said, do you want to be in a building or do you want to be in a garden apartment, low-rise situation? And talk to current and past residents. Drive into the complex and ask people that you meet. If you see people outside walking or you see people in the lobby, ask them, how have they liked it there? Is it convenient? How's the landlord? Some advantages and disadvantages. It's easier to move when you're renting. Renting is a great thing for people right out of undergrad or right out of grad school. It might be transferred in a year, 2 years. And then you don't have the responsibility of trying to sell your home. Few to no maintenance responsibilities. Maybe you have to do a few things, but not much. The landlord's job pretty much is to repair things. Doesn't mean they're going to be fast. Doesn't mean they won't subcontract. It just means it's their responsibility to get it done. And there's a modest financial commitment. Some disadvantages. No tax benefits. Your payments to rent are not tax deductible. There's no ownership. You have no equity. When you leave, you hand the keys over, you get your security deposit back or some part of it, and that's it. Remodeling and restructuring, pets, decorating, there are limits to these things. You may not be allowed to bring your dog or your cat, right? And there's a security deposit, and challenge is getting it back, most or all of it back, right? You should own renter's insurance. Renter's insurance is one of those insurances that's modestly priced, a value. I had a student that had a problem, a grad student. She was maybe 30, young 30s, and it was in the winter, pipes broke in the unit above her, and water leaked into her condominium. And by then, 30, 32, she was starting to purchase furniture. She had rugs, electronic equipment, and some of that was damaged or ruined. And so she had to move out, and her renter's insurance covered that, which was a great thing. Read your lease. I know it seems impenetrable, but read your lease. Most have common themes. The longer you rent, the more leases of yours that you read, the more sense they'll make. The first time it'll be challenging, but after that it'll become very easy. Know the rules about the return of the security deposit, when the rent is due, the fees for late payment. I'm not suggesting you do that, but just know what they are. It might happen to you. Maybe you travel, maybe you forget, maybe something happens. The list of included utilities. What restrictions are there, especially pets if you love your cats and dogs? What are your sublease rights? If you get transferred, can you sublease? Charges for an early move out. When and for what purpose, and is a warning required for the landlord to enter the property? Family member of mine had a party. They were responsible, but had a party, and the landlord showed up the next day. And they hadn't had a chance to clean up, hadn't had a chance to return the property to the normal living conditions. That was a problem. And the landlord showed up unannounced with no notice. Now, maybe they were tipped off by the neighbors, I don't know. And so maybe the family member that had the party the night before needed to be quieter or work it out with the neighbors. But the point is that you should know when the landlord can show up and if there's a requirement for notice be given. If you maintain the property in good condition, that could be a good working relationship with your landlord. This is the last slide in this segment. This is the first segment of housing selection and financing. Thanks for being here to watch it. Please come back and we'll start with the 10th slide in this chapter in just a moment. See you in a few minutes. This is the end of the first segment of the chapter Housing, Selection, and Financing. I'm Tom Mihawk. You can find me at tommihawk.com, at Resume Optimization, at Instagram and Twitter, at my YouTube channel. And don't forget the new book. It's available in ebook form, coming out in paperback very soon, called Optimize Your Resume.